joined here today by the one and only Charles Rosa, coming off the big win after the big layoff, of course. Thanks so much for joining me, man. How are you?
Man, I'm great. Couldn't be more happy coming off that big win Friday night. So, on top of the world.
Of course, man. You mentioned the fight was on Friday night. How weird was it having a fight on a Friday instead of a Saturday?
Yeah, it doesn't make much of a difference. I fought in all different other countries all over the world, different places for the UFC. So, sometimes you fight in Japan, you fight in 9 a.m. and you fight in different countries. The times change. So, that doesn't really affect me. I mean, you just obviously make the adjustments for one day, and so you don't get confused. There was a couple times I was thinking the fight was on Saturday, but it's all part of the planning.
And one thing that did happen before the fight was, of course, your opponent unfortunately missed weight. What was your reaction when you found out?
Uh, I mean, doesn't really matter. I don't care. I mean, I was actually pumped because I knew I would get at least 20% of his purse, so it actually was a good way to start the week, knowing I was going to get some extra cash at the end of it. The him missing weight doesn't really mean anything to me. It just lets me know, gives me more confidence because I just know he's undisciplined. You know what I'm saying? That's all that means to me. When a fighter doesn't make weight, I'm not oh, he's bigger than me, he's stronger. I just think he's undisciplined, so it just makes the fight going into it a little bit easier.
And was there any doubt to whether or not this fight would happen? Because sometimes when guys miss weight, sometimes the fight can be in jeopardy. Was there any talk of that at all, or was it just 20%? Let's move on.
No, yeah, that's what it was. It was the 20% move on. The UFC knows me for that. I mean, there's times my last fight, Mizuto Hirota, who I was supposed to fight in Japan, was 5 pounds overweight. There was no questions, man. I'm here to fight. And then the fight before that, when I fought Kyle Bochniak, they switched my opponent 3 days before the fight, when I last won in Boston. So, that's never an issue with me. Is I'm always down to fight. I'll never turn down a fight. I fought 20 amateur fights for free because I love it, and that's how I am, and that's who I am.
And what was it like fighting in front of that Boston crowd? I know originally you're from Massachusetts.
Yeah, man, it's pretty exhilarating. It's the most amazing thing, being able to go back to my hometown, where I watched the Celtics, the Boston Bruins, win championships, and that's what I always dreamed of as a little kid. Walking out, of that tunnel, getting it. I mean, I always thought maybe my dream was to play hockey on the ice, but my favorite part about hockey was the fighting. So just as well that I'm a UFC fighter and get to shine in front of 20 plus thousand people in my hometown.
For sure, that makes a lot of sense. Before this fight, however, I think last time we saw you was April 2017. That's a little over 2 years since we'd last seen you. What's been going on in that time, man? Why haven't we seen you earlier?
Yeah, for 2 years, from 2017 2019, I wasn't medically cleared by the UFC. I suffered a neck injury. It wasn't an immediate thing. It was a thing over time. My neck always bothered me through my whole UFC career. And, come to find out, I was fighting my whole UFC career with reduced strength in my triceps and upper arms and upper chest. And it was a direct result of a neck injury. So, man, it was kind of happy to be able to get it fixed and taken care of. And, I got a lot of physical therapy, went through a lot of, to get it stronger. And, it was a blessing. Maybe it was a blessing in disguise because I focused on things that I never really focused on, like strength and conditioning, physical therapy, building up, my balance and my flexibility and things like that. So, like I said, I think it was a blessing in disguise. I mean, even though I was out for 2 years and wasn't medically cleared by the UFC to compete, doesn't mean I wasn't working hard. I mean, I traveled the whole world, traveled to Thailand, and lived in Thailand for a little bit, trained in Muay Thai. Went to Holland, trained some Dutch kickboxing with the Dutch. They have amazing kickboxing skills, and went to Cambodia to, get my mind right and learn some different Bokatar and, different types of martial arts. So, it wasn't any time wasted.
And so how frustrating is it for you? Because we do know this is your job being a UFC fighter. How frustrating is it for 2 years and even a little bit over not being able to go out there and fight?
Man, it's the most frustrating thing ever, especially, on top of it, not getting paid. I mean, luckily I'm also, able to, I have a degree in culinary arts. I'm also a chef, so I, can make a little bit extra money on the side, but that's not what I really want to do. I want to fight, and I want to be in this 100%. I put my chips all in, dedicated everything to do this, and that's what I'm doing. So it was very difficult to sit on the sidelines and not, be able to compete and not be able to get that release. You know what I'm saying? It's actually pretty cool because you can see the release I was able to get, and one of the cool pictures that UFC posted was like a picture of me after I submitted them, and it was just like me, just like kind of screaming, "Let's go!" As loud as I could, just because it was like the release of the last 2 years of frustration. Being at the doctors, sitting in doctor's appointments, having them tell me that I should retire, hang up the gloves, that there was less than 1% chance that I would come back to full strength and be able to fight again. These are all the things that I had to go through, and it was extremely, extremely frustrating. But I didn't give up. I was the 1%er, and I was able to come back and shine on Friday night and get that first round win.
So you talked a little bit about the culinary arts. So I assume you had to get another job during those 2 years.
I didn't necessarily have another job. I always had a job. Ever since I've been with the UFC, I work at a restaurant, Cut 432. It's a five-star steakhouse. I'm a culinary arts graduate from Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island. So that was, something I always had a degree in. Of course, I used to work full-time when I was an amateur fighter and fight part-time, like take off the weekends for fights and tournaments until the point where, I did half and half. Like once I went pro, I work part time and train part time. Well, train full time, work part time, and then to the point now where I fight in the UFC, where I'm able to just pretty much work once a month just to keep it as a hobby. It's more just a hobby now. It's not really a job. It's just a hobby, but it's something I always keep in my back pocket because you know how the UFC is and how the fight game is, and injuries always around the corner, and you know you're fighting the best guys in the world, so it's difficult, but I've definitely toned down. I haven't been working as much or fighting as much, and I'm really. Hold on one sec. Yeah, yeah. I'm just trying to get back. I'm trying to just focus on my fighting career. My chips are all on. You know what I'm saying?
During this training camp, you mentioned you're back to full strength now. You get the neck injury healed. How did you feel physically going through it, especially strength and conditioning and all that stuff? Did you feel a big difference physically?
Oh, 100%. It was physically. It was very difficult. When I first went in to my first session, I had to get neck surgery. I got neck surgery, and I came out of that. And after neck surgery, I was weak. You know what I'm saying? Like I could barely lift a gallon of milk. And from that time, building my strength up from being that weak to they have something called a barometer in physical therapy, and what that does is it tests like your strength. So like I remember when I first saw my numbers in the barometer, it was below like 20, like which would probably be like the strength of like a female girl. Like a young female girl. Like I was basically had very limited strength. Wasn't completely weak where I couldn't do anything, but it wasn't like it didn't have full strength. So after that, I was able to build up, and I over doubled and almost tripled my strength. You know what I mean? So to see the numbers in the barometer go up each week was very motivational for me because I could see progress. I'm the type of guy that I like to see progress. So when I see that progress on the barometer going up, it really really helped me a lot. And I would just shoot for a higher number each time, and it never stopped going up, and it never stopped. Every time I measured it, it got higher, and to the point where they cleared me to fight, and I felt, I was ready to go, and my body felt good, my neck felt good, my, strength felt good, and man, it's crazy because the doctor told me, he goes, I don't know how you were fighting in the UFC, winning fights, I didn't have the best record, I was a 500 fighter, I was getting all my losses, my 3 losses in the UFC are fight of the night, and I think it's because I was basically, you took a world-class championship level fighter, you take away his strength, you're going to get fights of the nights because I can bang, I can fight, and you can't really hurt me, but it's like I don't have the power to put the guy away. I mean, if you watch a lot of my past fights, you see the punches going and hitting the guys, and they're not going down. I mean, I'm landing spinning back fists, I'm landing spinning, hard punches, but it's not really hurting the guys, and sometimes the guys would just punch right through it. And a lot of the reason was because of the injury that I had sustained. So I'm so excited to see the new Charles Rosa, the healthy Charles Rosa, and the one that's going to be the champion of the featherweight division.
And let's talk about the fight a little bit. How did you feel when your feet touched the mat and you were finally back in the cage after so much time?
Oh man, it was the most exhilarating and best feeling in the world. There's nothing that can explain it. I think it was everything I worked for. Like everything that last 2 years of going through the surgery. I went through 2 neck surgeries. The first one wasn't successful. Second one was. I went through 2 neck surgeries over 2 years. Friggin' thousands, I would say thousands of friggin', maybe not thousands, but a lot of hours of physical therapy. I pretty much did physical therapy every day for 2 years. sometimes twice a day. Like they literally thought I was crazy going to the physical therapy place. They said I could come in as much as I want. I could come in pro bono. Like it was totally cool. Like they love me, but like I would come in morning, sometimes at night, and they're like, "You really only need." They first said, "How many times you want to do physical therapy?" Like two or three times a week. I was like, "No, you don't understand. I want to do physical therapy every single day." And they're like, "Okay," and that's what I did because this is what I like I said, I dedicated my life to it, put all the chips in, and that's what I did. I did it every day until I was cleared to fight, and every day I was hoping to get cleared until I finally did, and I'm so blessed. You know, I was so happy I got that word, and once I got the word, I went to Thailand to kind of get my mind right and train Muay Thai with the Thais for a little bit, just to kind of, you know what I mean? Like Thailand's like a serene, nice place to go. I feel like to clear your head and to get in shape because you know you pretty much hit the bag. It's more like bag work and light sparring. Like you're not going with the animals over at American Top Team who are gonna really, really, you know, maybe slamming you in your head. You know what I'm saying? It's just gonna be kind of technical training, and that's what I did, man. And after I got back from Thailand, I was good to go. Right back at American Top Team, back in the gym, mixing it up with the best guys in the world, and I never felt better.
And so obviously you got the armbar out there. It was a verbal submission. A lot of fans didn't realize that he had submitted. Did you hear him when he kind of
I
called the
didn't
fight
know.
off?
I know. I only heard the referee because I got him in the armbar. And I knew it was tight because like I had it. That's like one of the moves, my special moves that I do. Like I lock up that armbar. It's kind of a little trick move I do. I get him, hooked it over, and I switched the hips, and it was super tight. I knew it was tight, and I knew I was gonna get it. Like I was like, I got it locked in, and then like all I gotta do is hip through, and you know to finish it. And when before I could hip through, the ref was pulling me off of him, and I was kind of like. I jumped up like hell yeah, like I knew the fight was over and he stopped, but like I didn't hear him yell and tap because the crowd was so loud and my head was all the way down on the canvas because I was doing an armbar off my back. So like I stood up and friggin' obviously I was pumped. I knew I won because I knew the round wasn't over. Like I knew it was only halfway through the round, and I jumped up and just got to release all that excitement and all the frustration I had over the year and just went nuts and. I helped him up right after the fight. I was a good sport to him. I mean, it's tough to, I'm definitely a good sportsman, but before the fight, I don't want to be a friend. But after, I'm definitely, cool to shake your hand, and he earned my respect that night.
All right, I have one more for you, kind of a two-part question. When do you think we'll see you again, and who do you want next?
I'm ready. I'm ready for anybody. I would love to fight December 7th on that card in Washington, D.C., the station's capital. I believe it's on the Pearl Harbor Day. My big bro, my former roommate, best friend, Walt the Big Ticket Harris, UFC heavyweight, is fighting Overeem for, I think, a title eliminator fight. So, like, man, I would love to be on that card with my big bro. We've talked about this so many times. That's just our dreams always have been in line with each other, and to be able to get on the card with him would be a blessing. And I'm ready to get back in there ASAP. I mean, I'm ready. I could fight tomorrow if you needed me, So, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. And as far as opponents, I pretty much want whoever the UFC thinks next. I mean, I've been out for 2 years, so I just took out a top guy, took out the top submission specialist in the division, and I'm ready, to take out anything else. I mean, they were talking about, jiu-jitsu jiu-jitsu guys. They were kind of making a big deal, like, because I said I had the best jiu-jitsu in the division, and I do believe I have the best jiu-jitsu in the division. I just submitted the best guy, I think one of the top jiu-jitsu guys in the division. He got 11 submission wins. I had 7, now I have 8, and I just put him away in the first round with an armbar. You can't really beat that. And, I just think whoever they want to give me, I'm down to get in there, but I definitely want to move up the rankings, and I hope to be fighting for a world title by this time next year or shortly after that. So as many times as I can get in there, I'm ready to go.
All right, well, thanks so much for the time, man. I really appreciate it. It was good to see you get back out there and get the win, man. Congratulations.
I appreciate that, Lucas. Thanks, man.